Let me check to make sure we had audio. Okay, George, let's do a test. Test your audio. Speak. Do a test.
To your Chips and Salsa show. This is Don Jose Alacran here at our studios in Central Phoenix. Um, we have the studio. This is our headquarters. It's close to the Dream City Church, so that kind of gives you an idea of where we're at. Today is going to be a great day. Today's going to be a great day, June the 18th. Another show. We have two great guests today. We have Gary Sheriff running for sheriff, and we have Shelley Boggs running for county superintendent of education. So there they are, and they'll be speaking here momentarily. They're very good candidates. And, our other guest who was scheduled to be here, Renee Hamaday, couldn't make it. Our two guests here will be our show. Today, I have the privilege of having Jacob Chacon from Turning Point USA. It's
Turning Point Action, so I'm a field representative for Action for Camelback region, which is LB 4 to 9. So the Paradise Valley, Scottsdale, North Phoenix, Tampa, West Mesa, I'm your guy. All so I'm happy to go.
yeah, because Cheryl couldn't be here today. She has a prior engagement. But Jacob is going to be a right-hand man with him. And he's going to help me co-host this program. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce Shelley Boggs and let her introduce herself. And introduce Gary Sheridan. Ladies first.
Ladies first. My name is Shelley Boggs. I'm working for American County School Superintendent. Just a little bit about me. I've been in the education arena for 20 years. As a classroom teacher, also as a school board member in the state of Arizona, and I got involved in politics. I saw all of the corruption going on as a teacher in the school district. In order to fix that, I out and ran for school board and cleaned up a lot of corruption in a very large school district. We oversee all the CTE programs from Cave Creek all the way into Santan Valley. There was a lot we got to clean up, and for this position, I have lots of plans, lots of data that I can change. For this position, just for me, from here, we can.
And Jerry.
Thank you for having me. So I spent 40 years with the Maricopa County Sheriff's Office and joined the volunteer in 18. And 40 years later, I retired as the chief deputy, which is the highest position. For those that don't know, the Sheriff's Office is the fourth largest in the country. We cover 9,224 square miles. Population was supposed to have about a little over 4,000 employees with about a $550 million budget. And I had the opportunity to run those jails, which is 75% of the operation. And the last 6 years I spent as the chief deputy, which is over the rest of the operation. But when I first started out, I was in a patrol car. I spent 17 years in a patrol car.
17 years.
17 years in a patrol car. And I loved my job. And that's why I want to get back. The people, the rank and file people at the sheriff's office asked me to run and come back, and they need new leadership, and I'm their choice. So that's why I'm sitting here today.
I think you would be a great sheriff.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
And you ran the MASH unit too.
I ran. Yep.
Because you spoke, we had him on our show prior, I don't know, about a month or 2 months ago
in April.
in
Yeah.
April, and he spoke about the MASH unit, and
Yeah.
that was fantastic. Your story on that.
Well, if people watching don't know what the MASH unit is, and when we had an animal cruelty case, the animal, the dog, the cat, the horse, the pig, the sheep, whatever it was, is part of our evidence, part of our case. And before we had the MASH unit, what we would do is we'd go to the county, the dog pound, and they wouldn't keep the animal very long for us. They'd put the animal on the kill list. And we didn't like that at all. So what we decided to do is use one of the old abandoned jails, put the dogs and cats in there, and bring them back to health. And we actually are a no-kill shelter where we would rehabilitate the animal and adopt them out. And it worked really well. And the animal is a victim of a crime. The last thing they need is a death sentence. So that's what we did. We've done it, and it's still working. Not as well as when we were there, because animals are something very special to me. I have horses. I've adopted horses. I've adopted dogs. I have an 85-pound Airedale that we went to Santa Fe, New Mexico to get, and he sleeps right in the middle of the bed between Stacy and I. Yeah, he's and when they do it, they stretch out. So they're animals. A big part of my family and my life, everyday life. And so that's the least thing that I can do as a sheriff, is to help protect those animals. And the other thing about it is, if you are abusing animals, you have a very high propensity to abuse your family also.
Wow.
So that's why this is going to be a major issue for me.
You have any questions?
No, I mean, my dad's a 30-year veteran of the Phoenix Police Department, and he admires your work, the work you did, the work Sheriff Joe Pryor did when he was sheriff, the work Sheriff Lamb did now.
Mhm.
So looking forward to your candidacy, everything on the campaign trail going well. Hearing great things, so I'm excited to be here with us.
Is he still working there?
He's still there, yeah. He's with the transit unit. So he did gang unit most of his career. He loved that. It's fun. There's always something going on.
Transit unit probably still working the gang stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. So he's a sergeant right now.
Oh, good. Cool.
Yeah. And so, Shelley, what experience? I know you said you were a school board member. How long were you a school board member? The 4 years?
I'm currently on the school board. I'm in the 6th year.
Oh, 6 years.
Right. I oversee $145 million budget.
$145 million.
Yes.
That's not as much as he does.
No, good for a school district.
Yeah.
It's a big job. It's an important job. And with all the things we're seeing in our school districts, we have to have some strong conservative board members in order to fix the issues that are going on in our schools.
How every time they have elections, they have bond elections.
Right.
And to me, they want to override the bond. And when we vote on the bonds, it's for a specific purpose.
Right.
But every year or every election, the schools want money back from the bonds. And so I'm kind of hesitant on that. It's just
what's it's really frustrating knowing how this works. A lot of the superintendents, they aren't held accountable for where the money goes. And in school budgets, you can move money around, and if you don't know how it works, it's very easy for that to happen. So I'm on the Arizona School Board Coalition. We train school board members on the right questions to ask, what to look for. So these bonds, if there was some accountability and our boards have to hold these superintendents accountable, they might go in the right way and it's be spent in the right where they're saying it's going to be spent. Then we don't have to go out for bonds every single year.
It just seems like they're is override this bond,
all
override
the
that.
time.
And I was like, I just voted on that, and now I'm gonna have to vote on another bond issue just to, you know, for that whatever we voted on to come back. It just seems like we're being taken advantage of.
I know there are district school superintendents who take out loans to pay off different construction, building, and that kind of thing in the districts, and then they ask for the bond. So they've already spent the money, and if the bond doesn't pass, now they're on the hook. And it's being conservative with their money. And so there's some districts that are going to be in trouble because parents and community voters, taxpayers we're just done watching our money be wasted.
As board members, do you go to different schools and see how the money, or
For,
visit the classrooms?
For me, because I actually helped get our conservative board members elected, I know what they're battling, and a lot of them are, the only ones on the boards that are fighting. I do go to a lot of the different school boards just for support so that they know somebody's in there for them, because there's so many people that are, come at you and attack you, and they're in there fighting for parents or fighting for the kids. And there's a lot of people that are call us names or domestic terrorists, those fun words. I personally go in, even if it's not my district. I've been to Peoria board meetings as much as I've been to my own, it feels like sometimes, because our Peoria school board mom, Heather Rooks, is just fighting like crazy, all by herself.
How many school boards in the county?
I believe there's 58 districts.
58
to 60
districts. There's a lot of redundancy, overlap. There's only 25 municipalities in the county. So we're talking about saving money and all that, because every one of those districts has to have a superintendent and their own administration.
Right.
So we wonder why I don't know. I'm not running for
No. You're accurate. It is accurate.
The money doesn't get down to the kids, to the classroom, when it's sucked up by all this waste administration, when you would think that they could streamline. I know that's politics, right? That's really what it comes down to. But 58.
Well, I got to tell you, I got on when I got on the school board that I'm on currently. We got rid of the bloated administration. Like I put a very strong team together. We knew what we were doing when we got in there. We got rid of the bloated administration, and our teachers got a 40% raise.
That's good.
By doing that. And if every school board did that, got a new superintendent. So we had to get rid of the other one, and we fired her, and she now resides in Mexico. She hasn't come back. So that's yes. So we have a new superintendent. He knows. He puts the students first. He puts the teachers first. If we have good teachers and we can keep them, and they are trained properly, it benefits the kids. When there's turnover and teachers leaving and they're not getting paid well, that's not good for kids.
Like the Red for Ed, everybody had red T-shirts. Where are they getting all the money for those T-shirts? And it was not only one school district; it was a lot of school districts. Then they'd have walkouts to the.
I did participate in Red for Ed, and I was in the classroom. Then I got a John 3:16 true story T-shirt. I figured if they were wearing the red for Ed, I was going to wear my. It was a battle.
All my teachers walked out. I was in high school at the time. All my teachers walked out of class.
How did you feel about that?
I felt confused about the whole thing.
Right.
I was a junior or senior in high school.
Right.
And it was an ongoing thing, and I lost classes. Important lectures that I, especially for my big classes, I really wanted to go to. But he was just walked out of the room.
Right. So these teachers, when they were coming at me because I wasn't supportive of it, I wasn't doing all of the walk-in, walk-outs, whatever it is that they called it. I told them, have you spoken to any of these students? Because the seniors and the juniors were very impacted by that. They're the ones that came to me worried, like what's going to happen to my scholarship? Athletes, am I going to get my scholarship? When am I going to be able to go to college? Like they think of, and that's what I asked them.
Right around graduation, and
right?
All the testing, the state test, the AP testing,
right?
For our college classes.
But they didn't care. This is for the kids. No, it's not.
Right.
That was not for the kids. So I got my John 3:16 red. I got it red, so I matched the color. It just said John 3:16.
That's cute. I like that. Oh, but that's ridiculous sometimes, what these teachers do, what the schools do. Um, I just I'm hoping that get more school board members like yourself and the group that you had formed that will make a difference in school districts.
And we're working hard to get to take over the majority for these school boards. But man, we've especially this election, like we're saying that it might be like 3 pages long of ballots.
Mhm.
2 for sure. They're at the bottom of the ballot. Like we cannot let people, you know, just work, vote at the top ballot and then let it go at the bottom. Those are our school boards. That's where it counts. They're yes, they're the ones that are going to make the change.
Yep.
Our state superintendent can only do so much. Maricopa County School Superintendent can only do so much. Lend support, be an influence in there. But without our school boards, the change just sits there. It has to be done, and we have to encourage everybody to vote
I
for your
think
school
you
boards.
would do good in the school board. You would bring change that they need. Or
Absolutely,
superintendent, I mean.
superintendent.
Yeah.
Yeah, it won't take me long either. I can do it quickly,
Okay.
very quickly.
Okay. I'll put my toward it.
Good, good,
Yeah.
good. Yeah, I'm like Shelley. I spent 40 years there. The last 6 years I ran the entire operation. The 12 years before that, I ran 75% of it, which is the jail system, and it's very complex. There's over 40 divisions that take money and personnel, and it's a very complicated organization.
Oh, 40 divisions.
The sheriff is elected by the people, and that is the only elected law enforcement official in the country. There's 3,300 sheriffs. Here in Maricopa County, we're the fourth largest. Sometimes we're the third. We kind of go back and forth with Houston and Harris County. So the sheriff's office is in such dire straits right now. They're about 1,500 employees short. The patrol deputies are about 50% staffing. In the jail system, the jail is on the verge of collapse. I had somebody tell me about 2 weeks ago, they're one large inmate fight away from anarchy. They're so short-staffed. They're supposed to have over 2,200 employees. They have a little over 1,000, and they're on mandatory overtime. That's okay for a week or two for your paycheck, but after that, it gets old. It gets old fast, especially when you're working in a jail. It's a very tough environment to work in because you're constantly with the felons, and you can't get away from it. Because I was a detention officer for a short time in the beginning of my career, and that's one thing I realized in a patrol car, you could just get in the car and drive away. But you can't do that when you work in the jail. It's a tough job. It's a great job, but it's also probably one of the most important jobs in the criminal justice system because without the jails, we have no place to put the bad guys.
Jerry, 18 years old, is that the age?
Yes.
Okay, so EVIT, I'm on the East Valley Institute of Technology
Mhm.
School Board. We train students, and they can't go into law enforcement until they're 21.
Right.
So they're being trained, and we work with their
The
sheriff's
sheriff.
department
Mhm.
to help. Um,
That's
help
it's a great thing to do. I taught at the community college for 22 years, and I had a lot of my students become either sheriff's deputies or detention officers. It's very satisfying, as a teacher, right?
Right.
It's very satisfying to see them. I was able to promote a couple of them, after they've been there for a while. It's important because there's no shortage of young people that want to get into law enforcement or the military. They just don't want to work for a weak leader,
Right.
and
I agree.
that's what I bring to the table. Not weak leadership, but I bring to the table leadership where people want to come work
Yeah, they
for me.
want to work for
They
you.
want to work for me.
And young kids, everything's so demonized. Like you have to hate each other, hate yourself. Your color, skin color, all of that's important. When they do something that that helps them feel accomplished, that's when the change happened within them.
Mhm.
And so bringing something like that to and being able to be a part of things, be
Mhm.
change, and that's where the self-esteem comes and empowerment for these kids, and it's lacking in the schools. And so
Yeah.
I know at EVIT we focus on the empowerment and making kids or building self-esteem so that they can go into work for these organizations and be
And
successful.
believe me, we need the help.
So Benzone left. He
Yes.
didn't complete his term. The gentleman that took his place, is he running for election too?
Yes.
Um, but there hasn't been change for the good yet.
You know, it's funny you asked that because I asked somebody that worked there last night at an
Right.
event, and I asked him. I said, "Has there been any positive changes?" And his response was, "No, it's gotten worse." And I looked at him. I said, "How can it get worse?" He said, "Believe me, it's gotten worse."
Yeah, the guy doesn't have a. He wasn't elected. He was appointed. So
Mhm.
I heard he changed his party from Republican. He was a Republican most of his life. Changed his party Democrat to get appointed by
Right. So I think it was a Monday night in November. Zone does a press conference, I'm stepping down. The next day, this guy changed parties from Republican to Democrat
he
to
was
get
Republican.
to get appointed to the job.
Oh, okay. So is he running as a
He's running as
Democrat? So it is a partisan race.
it is.
Okay.
There's 3 Republicans and 2 Democrats.
So if you win, which you will, the primary, then you'll be running against
Correct.
maybe him or somebody else.
Either one.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a shame to see that the sheriff department has, lost confidence. Some of the people working there have lost confidence in it.
Well, a lot of them have.
Yes.
Hundreds and hundreds have left. Somebody told me last night that they're figuring another 200 people will leave before the end of the year.
Wow. And then once you take over that position, you have to fill it up.
It's gonna be a challenge in the beginning, but I have people that I meet all the time on Pain Trail that work there, and I'll say, "Chief, you get elected, we'll come back." I'm going to reinstate the posse. Now we had 1,600 posse members when I left. There's less than 40.
Wow.
And the posse is citizens that care about their community, dedicated volunteers that are vetted. We train them, and they go out and they help the deputies out and patrol most of the time. And it is a huge force multiplier, those citizens out there, and they're very conscientious and dedicated to it.
So
It's a volunteer
so
position.
they don't get paid for it.
No, sir.
Wow.
But they're very dedicated. And, some of them have special training that the county couldn't afford. And a good example is there were people that had their own helicopter or fixed wing aircraft that were in the posse. You'd call them up and they'd be out there. They'd help you follow a drug deal or rescue somebody, search and rescue, that kind of thing. And another very specialized area is, we have some lakes, big lakes, very deep lakes, that if somebody drowns, they're hundreds of feet deep. You can't just the sheriff's divers aren't certified to go that deep because of special equipment and training, and it's highly technical. These guys had that. They had the ability to do that. And this current administration followed
Oh,
for no reason other than not understanding the value the posse adds to the sheriff. And
is it political, you think?
it absolutely
It had
was.
to be political.
Absolutely.
That's a shame.
That is a
I don't
shame.
know how you could do that with the whole shortage going on. It's boggles.
Well, it was. Well, let's just say he wasn't the smartest sheriff ever.
Really.
Maybe that's why he got out.
Yeah.
You said the budget is how much?
About 550 million to 600 million.
Wow.
That 75% of that is the jail system.
75%.
Mhm.
What's the breakdown of the other 25%?
That's the enforcement side, and normally people would relate that to a normal function of a police department. Plus, we have some other things too. We provide security for the courts. We have a civil process section where we serve civil papers, tax collection, that kind of thing. And there's a lot of other functions that go along with those things. It's a pretty complex law enforcement agency. It's not a typical city agency that really is focused on, you either have detectives or patrol, officers, and, you got some other things, but the sheriff's office is a bigger responsibilities because of the jail system, which none of these cities have their own jail. They use our jail. And then you also have the other things like I mentioned about search and rescue and lake patrol and
You guys have SWAT?
civil SWAT teams. Yep.
Don't they have tanks and stuff like that? Heavy duties?
Yeah, they call them a bear. They have a couple of bears.
Well, they look like tanks.
Yeah.
Coming rolling down.
Yeah.
Well, they look like tanks.
Yeah.
They have those big things in the front right into a house. Is that a big expense, the SWAT portion, or that falls into?
No, I wouldn't say it's a big expense, not cheap, because some of the equipment they need, like the bear, those are a lot of money. They have special weapons and training and all that, and they train a lot because they're called out a lot. When I started law enforcement in the late 70s, people weren't as mean, and if we got in a fist fight with somebody, that was a big deal. Now people are shooting the cops.
They're getting in your face.
And they're getting in your face.
And with a phone.
Yep.
Oh, I hate that.
Oh, gosh,
I
know it.
Because I hate it because of what I see these people go through. I mean, you hear they're trying to make an arrest and somebody's at the phone.
Right.
5 people at the phone. Like,
oh. Racist.
Yeah.
Yep.
And you got to put up with that, but yet.
And do your job.
Yeah.
Right.
So the deputies and the officers these days, they need to be better trained than we were. They need to be better vetted when we hire them. And it's a lot more complex than when I was, I'm born and raised in New York City. My dad and my uncles were New York City cops.
Can't even tell.
Yeah, can't. So, I growing up around them, they talked about how it was policing for them. And then, my generation and now this generation, they've had it a lot tougher than all of us did.
Wow.
Because there's a lack of respect out there for each other. Well, when you're driving down the street, there's a lack of respect for people who let you change lanes and, they speed up and, they
want you to pull them over.
Common courtesy and respect for one another is out there. And you know what?
Empathy,
this is where it goes back. I wanted to interrupt you earlier, but I knew better. And, the change is going to be made at the schools with the kids and how we teach kids and the values we teach them. I went to Catholic school for 12 years. So, we said our prayers every morning. We said the Pledge of Allegiance every morning. We went to church on Wednesdays. We learned about discipline. It was not fun. We learned about discipline. We got a great education. And that I think is lacking in a lot of schools today, a lot of classrooms.
Right. So the teachers try to discipline the students and then they send them to the administration, and administration just, okay, whatever, slap on the wrist, not even that. And so there's no, the students don't have accountability. You don't learn that way.
I hate to be a teacher. I can imagine what the teachers go through.
They have no support. And I do talk about, we have a lot of teachers anymore because of this teacher shortage that's always being talked about. If you have a degree, you can go online, you can purchase a teaching certification, and now you're a teacher. That does not make you a teacher. So we're lacking classroom management skills, different things like that. And if you can't manage your classroom, it's not a safe learning environment, and just chaos. And then you success, and then teachers are leaving. Well, also students aren't being held accountable for their actions. They're also lacking empathy.
Mhm.
Empathy is, and I think that comes from social media. You see so much going on in schools. Like you don't, something dramatic isn't as dramatic because you've seen it 50 times on social media. Something that's violent or whatever. There's no empathy in there. So
And I think parents, they don't take the responsibility that our parents, like, we had to answer for whatever we did.
right.
Now,
Yeah, I didn't mess around. My dad was. I had a very strict
Yeah.
father.
that's
Very
good
strict.
because it's upbringing.
Discipline,
It shows you discipline.
right?
Like my son, he was good in school. Now he's in the army, and he's pretty good in the army because he's in special ops now with Fort Huachuca. Uh, he's climbed up there. I think he's going to be a master sergeant here in '85 or 2025, and he's pretty sure that he's got that kind of wrapped up
Cool.
because of his what he's doing in the military, his job, and
It's probably secret. You can't say.
Yeah.
He says he's got an 85% chance to be master sergeant.
Well,
Nice.
And he married a drill sergeant, so she's
yikes.
Oh, tight ship. Do they have children?
She does. She's had 3 kids,
Okay.
and he got a ready-made family. But her father, I don't know if I told you, her father was a sergeant major, and her mom was first sergeant when they retired. So sergeant major, the only one higher than him is command sergeant major.
Mm-hmm.
So he was sergeant major, and his wife was first sergeant, one below him, and they both retired. And so their daughter now is a drill sergeant, and military police is her.
Okay. MOS.
Yeah, but I think he was telling me that the army is going to downsize military police because that recruit is down, and so she might not.
Again,
When she finishes her
leadership.
term in February, she might not be able to go back to military police. She might have to choose something else.
Mm-hmm.
So I
when
don't
they
know.
promote military with the LGBTQ community, there's not a whole lot of men that are going to be down the door to join.
There's
It's
just
crazy.
just like in law enforcement, the military people don't want to work for a weak leader.
Right.
We have a weak leader. It's a commander in chief in Washington.
Exactly.
There's no
Right.
doubt about that.
For sure.
And so people, I wouldn't want I have a grandson. He's 16. So, he's military age pretty soon. I wouldn't want him to join the military with a
That's
commander in chief
my
right
son is 21, and he's like
know.
going to the military. I'm like,
now.
hold on.
Yeah.
Hold till after the
Yeah,
election.
yeah, that's right.
Wait.
Let's get a strong leader.
Yeah.
Like who wants to send their child
No.
to? He's my child. I don't care how old he is. To a military that doesn't support our veterans.
I know because
They don't support them.
he had to take a diversity class when he was in Fort Jackson because he was a senior drill sergeant. But he said, "Dad, I have to go to a diversity class with all the drill sergeants, and they've already let 2 go because they couldn't adhere to diversity."
The best diversity class is going out in combat and knowing that the guy's got your back.
Yeah, you're in a
Right?
bunk. What do they call those?
Foxhole.
Foxhole together. It's like you're depending on this guy to have back. Yeah, he'll have your back, all right.
Right.
That's a shame.
Right. I don't think sitting in a classroom checking boxes.
Yeah. You can't call him or her, and it, or I don't know.
Yeah.
It's so weird.
So weird.
And they have that in the schools too, right?
Yeah. Yes.
I mean,
They do. Not at the school district that I'm overseeing. I made sure we have policy put in place. Our students are, have names. They're called by their name. We don't deal with pronouns because that's not how that works. We also don't have like the racism, skin color, like anything dealing with that. I made sure we have policy in place. We've stayed ahead of
half
all
of my
of
family
it.
is black, and half of them they're light skinned, brown. I never got raised with skin color.
Mhm.
Right.
It was like I just treated you the way you treated me,
Right.
and and all of a sudden it's like everything is racial now.
Right.
You guys must really have it bad. I mean,
Well,
the
I
police
saw a
officer.
big change when Obama became the president.
That's when it started.
He was supposed to fix this,
Yeah.
but he didn't. He made
Made
it.
it worse.
He made
Right.
it. He put it back on
Steroids.
top.
On
It took
steroids.
decades. It took decades for us to get away from, the racial things of the 50s and 60s, and then all of a sudden, nobody was talking about it anymore. And then Barack
came
becomes
back,
the
yes.
president, and bam, now it's front and center, and it hasn't diminished.
It hasn't.
It's
We're the
gotten
melting
worse.
pot. Everybody, like at one point, like everybody's accepted. I have my brother-in-law is black. My dad's Hispanic. I have a granddaughter that's Asian. Like we don't. And then when you say I don't see color, they're like, that's racist too. It's insane. Insane.
I don't know. I feel sorry for the police officers because they see it in, day out, and it's just they have to have cameras to protect themselves
Mhm.
because all the people have their iPhones.
That was the big selling point when cameras were first invented. The body cameras was, they're going to be used 90% of the time to exonerate the officer, and that's
Right.
a fact.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people were making false accusations and all that, and so that's the body cam, and that has changed that, and so it's a little bit easier with those. I wish I would have had a taser when I was a new deputy, because I weighed 140 pounds when I graduated the police academy, a little guy, and having to fight people, a taser would have been nice once in a while too.
Did you have pepper spray back then?
Yeah. Well, we didn't have. We had OC spray. It was mace. It wasn't pepper spray. It was mace. It's kind of acted differently than pepper spray. I think pepper spray is a lot more effective. But the problem with that was
It would get
you really didn't want to use it because you're going to get a face full of it too,
Right. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And then everybody else that came to back you up, they were pissed because now they've got it. Yeah.
So how many times did you have to get sprayed in the face with it?
Once in the academy for
okay.
the mace, and
Okay.
then when we transitioned, I don't know, 20 years later to the OC spray, then they had to spray us all again.
But did you ever have to get tased, or was that come after?
No. Matter of fact, when I was the chief over Patrol Bureau, right? People in training were tasing everybody, and I'm like, stop. When there was a guy, he was a sergeant, a big guy. He's like 6'6". He was a drill instructor in the Marine Corps, right? Tough guy. And he came to me one day and goes, Chief, and I'm looking up at him. I go, yeah. He says, if I ever have to be tased again, he says, I'll quit first.
Oh.
And that was like, okay, maybe we should just show him the video, right? Right? We don't shoot everybody to see how a bullet feels, right? And so let's just show them the video and talk to them about it. Let's not tase each other anymore. And so I stopped that craziness.
Yeah, I used to work in a factory years ago, and we used to have to ground test these ovens as they came down with a stick. It would actually shoot voltage into the thing, and the light would turn on if there was a ground in the unit.
Mm-hmm.
We used to shock each other, and it would shock you. It's like, you get used to it, but I mean, tase is even worse than that.
Your dad's law enforcement? Did you
Yeah.
say? Has he had to be tased, like in training?
I feel like I don't think so. He's never mentioned that to me specifically. I feel like I would have asked him when I was little.
Yeah.
Have you ever got tased before?
Yeah.
Well, taser was giving away free tasers. You had to take like a 20-second ride.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
20 seconds.
Whoa.
Because they were doing testing on the the physiological reactions of the body to the taser. Yeah. And the bigger and stronger you are, the better it works on you because it works on your muscles.
Oh.
So the more
And
muscles you have, the more muscular you're.
yep, the more they're going to lock up.
Oh, wow,
Yep.
okay.
So there was a video of that guy I was telling you he was tased. He fell over like a tree.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's not good. But you know, it doesn't work on everybody either.
Oh, it doesn't?
No. If you're an electrician, sometimes electricians, because they're used to getting,
Zapped.
Right.
all the time, it is
I
not
got
as
zapped so many
effective.
times.
The probe's got to be so far away.
Yeah,
if
and
you
that's
got
different.
if you got a jacket on or something.
Ah.
But here's a fun story. There was a prisoner, an inmate in jail. In intake, he was fighting with everybody. One of the officers tased him, and one of the probes hit him. The other one fell on the ground, so he went and picked it up, and he completed the circuit, and he
Oh.
tased himself.
Oh.
So, yeah.
Wow. Yeah, that could hurt. And then you're shooting it right here in the chest. We used to just go like that. We get shocked, but it was over here. When you tase somebody, you go for the chest, right?
Well, yeah, it's the shoot center of mass, because the further you get away, the further those two probes go.
Oh, right.
You
They
know,
shoot out.
so
I wouldn't want to get tased.
No.
Get that.
Yeah, I don't want
Or
to
even
either.
maced. I've never been maced, but I've never been tased either. But I've been shot. But that's about it.
well, that's
No,
good.
But that's good. I've been a good citizen.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how would you handle the fentanyl crisis?
Well, there's two ways. In 2010, when I became the chief deputy, I put detectives down in the desert south of I-8, off down by Gila Bend. It's kind of like our Maricopa County southern border right there. And a lot of fentanyl, 80% of fentanyl that comes through to the United States comes through Arizona. And a large amount of that comes through that Vico Valley. Okay. And so they were very effective very quickly. They would get on top of the mountains with spotting scopes, and we got tracking equipment from the military, from the Army. And we had detectives and deputies and chase vehicles, and we made a big impact on the cartels bringing that all drugs
Because we had cocaine.
into this cocaine. Methamphetamine was very big back then too. Fentanyl was just starting.
Yeah, we just started.
Is just starting. So what makes the fentanyl war very difficult to fight is, you know what the street price for a fentanyl pill is now?
I don't know. How much?
30 cents.
30 cents?
30 cents. It was $1 a year ago.
Oh.
It's 30 cents now.
It's going down.
What does that tell you? Supply,
Oh,
demand,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So there's been nobody out there since 2017 trying to stop the drugs from coming into this county. 6 people a day die of drug overdoses here in Maricopa County.
Wow.
4 of those are attributed to fentanyl.
Yeah, we had Sheriff Babu. He spoke one time, and he was saying how you guys have some kind of agreement with other sheriffs if you needed more sheriffs to come in. There's some kind of agreement you have with other states that they could send more reinforcements in or something. He spoke about that because he was talking about the borders, and he said we needed help. We could request it, and
it's
kind of that was a long time ago.
It's kind of a formalized mutual aid, and the sheriff's duties and responsibilities. One sheriff can ask another sheriff for help, and it's right codified in 11-441 where the sheriff gets the duties and responsibilities. So it is important. And the Vico Valley right there, we share a border with Pinell County. Sheriff Lamb is the sheriff there, and Maricopa County, and we work very closely together. At least when I was there. I don't know what's going on now, but and we will again. And it's an important issue because it affects all of us. I don't know of anybody that doesn't know someone who lost a loved one because of fentanyl overdose. It's so dangerous, and it's so cheap. That's why people are still willing to take it, because they can get a 4 or 6 hour high from 30 cents. It's a lot cheaper than heroin and methadone and you name it.
Wow.
That's awful.
That's
And they have a huge crisis in the jail system with fentanyl.
really.
They have averaged 49 deaths a year in custody since I left. Now, just as a comparison, when I was in charge, we averaged about 7 deaths a year, and I thought that was 7 too many. It's a sheriff's job, sheriff's duty to take care of people, whether they're out in public or whether they're in his custody. The care, custody, control of those 7, 8,000, 10,000. At one time, we had 12,000 inmates in custody, and it's the sheriff's job to make sure those people are taken care of. And don't forget, 80% of them in jail haven't been convicted of a crime yet. They haven't gone to trial yet. So they're not guilty. It's not like a prison system. Everybody in the prison system's found guilty of a felon. They're all felons. But in the county jail, that's not the case. Only 20% of the inmates are convicted, and usually misdemeanors or very low felony crimes. And those were the people that we put in tents. We didn't put people that hadn't been convicted yet in Tent City. So I'm going to bring some type of similar housing to Tent City back.
Well, some people
Nobody
said
wanted to go to Tent City.
well, they said that
Which is
after,
the purpose,
that
right?
was the purpose.
Right.
and then they would thank you afterwards for what you put them through, and it was like it's crazy. They didn't
have
like
you
it.
heard of Tent City?
Oh yeah, I remember being
Okay.
young, watching it on Fox 10. All the whole pink underwear,
The
thing,
pink.
everything. Yeah, my dad
Yeah.
talked about it. Told him, yeah, no one wanted to go over there for sure.
No,
No.
which is the purpose.
No, I talked to somebody 2 nights ago at an event. He came up to me and he said, "Hey, I spent 6 months in Tent City," and he said, "I was a drug abuser. I was on my way to an early grave." He said, "I was allowed to be part of the Alpha program, which is a drug and alcohol treatment program we worked at Tent City." And he says, "I came out of there and I have been clean and sober for 16 years.
Wow.
And I was looking at him. He looked like Arnold Schwarzenegger. He was a big muscle-bound guy. He's not the typical guy you think of a drug addict, right? And so he was like, "Thank you for having that."
Yeah, it was a deterrent. It would for the ones that went through it. It was like hey, I don't want to come back to this, and
Yeah,
that would
some
straighten out their lives. I guess.
consequences sometimes redirect you.
Well,
Right.
that's part of the
Now,
problem.
there's no
There
consequences.
are no consequences
Right.
right now.
There's no consequences in
Yeah.
school. There's not, and
Mhm. I get nasty emails, when we send out, my campaign will send out 30, 40,000 emails right now. I'll get a couple back. "You racist SOB, you abuse people in Tent City." Come on, man.
They're
know,
talking points from somebody else.
Oh,
not,
yeah.
not something
They have no clue.
They have no clue.
That was the thing. Sheriff Joe made it sound like it was really bad there. That was his thing, right? But most of the inmates, a vast majority of them, wanted to be in tents as opposed to locked in a cell in a hard facility. They were released outside. They got to hang out with their buddies. They could get out of the heat in the day room. They could stand under the shower all day if they wanted to. And most of them worked. They either worked in the laundry or they worked in the food factory. And if they worked in the food factory, they ate great food because they cooked it for themselves, and they got as much as they wanted. And so some of them were able to work 2 for 1 if the judge sentenced them, so where they can, as a working inmate, they can get credit for 2 days for 1 day they worked. They could get out sooner. and it was a great program. We taught people how to take job interviews. We even had a charity come in and get us suits and things, fill out a resume. You'd be surprised
Wow.
how many people had never had any training to do that to get a job. And the number one thing for people not to come back, and that's what Tent City was all about,
Right.
is get them employed. Find them a job, and they're less likely to recidivate. And I think that's part of the sheriff's job too, is to prevent crime by turning somebody around early on in their criminal career, so they don't wind up in prison. And
Didn't you have some in the MASH unit too? The
oh
worked
yeah,
in the
we
MASH?
had the women working in the MASH unit
Yeah.
with the cats and dogs. In the beginning, we had men doing it, and that was not good. They
Oh.
were abusing the animals, and
Oh, that's bad.
so that's when we decided to use the female inmates, and a lot of them they would train how to groom animals or to be vet techs while they were there, if they were there long enough, and they would get jobs. And again,
Yeah,
you know,
I
that
would
was always a
imagine.
big focus. You know, Thelda Williams. Did you ever have her on your show?
No.
Thelda, she passed away last year. I was devastated. Thelda worked for me for 12 years. She was our program coordinator, and she was the mayor of Phoenix a few years ago. And these were her programs. She really built these programs into something really special. And unfortunately, they're not what they used to be because the current administration doesn't really pay much attention to it. And I can tell you, when I become the sheriff, I will pay attention to it because the sheriff's jails are not there just to house people. Let's try and rehabilitate them if we can.
Rehabilitation. That's
If we can, early on in their criminal career, not when it's too late by the time they go to prison.
so. We have 10 more minutes. Could you talk about your campaign? How people could donate to your campaign? How they can volunteer for your campaign? How they can put out yard signs? Whatever.
Okay. Yeah, there's a lot of ways. My website is Sheridan number 4 Sheriff 2024.com, and you can volunteer. You can there's a link on there to get a yard sign. We'll have it delivered to your house, and those are really important for all candidates that you support, is to put a yard sign in their front yard, because you know a lot of us have the big signs on the streets, and I don't think very many people pay attention to those. There's so many of them these days. But a yard sign in your yard, as your neighbor drives by and say, oh, hey, George likes that guy, so they pay more attention to it. So it really is a big bang for your buck. And you can do that. And on my website, it's got a lot of nice, cool videos. If you're bored at 2:00 in the morning and you have nothing else to do, some of the things that I talk about here today, I have a great video about the Vico Valley I did with Sheriff Lamb about a month ago. That's on there, and some other issues like animal cruelty and posse and some of the other things that I stand for and I will bring back when I become the sheriff.
Yes, you will.
Yes.
And Shelley, you want to give information about it?
I wanted to say I've been grassroots, like true boots on the ground for years in education, all the way to fighting against the sex exploitation of our kids down at the Senate, supporting Senator Hoffman's bill. I work with Riley Gaines has endorsed me, fighting for women's rights and protecting our girls in the schools. And so I just wanted to mention that I'm really honestly the only candidate that has been this involved in fixing our education. Because if anyone else was involved, I would have known their name. I would see them
Right.
down there. So I wanted to mention that, and also along the lines what you were talking about with rehabilitating and catching things earlier. On the board that I serve, the EVIT governing board, we started a foster program for the aging out foster kids to prevent that from happening in their lives. So teaching them a trade. Also, I got a bill passed for the entire state of Arizona for an associate's degree to be attached to our career and technical education programs. Those are things that will help, keep these kids out of jail. So I want to bring that.
We need a superintendent that just, it's rock solid. And
I dig in. I'm action. I don't have all the fluffy words. I'm not a politician, but what I have done is I have proven myself with actions, and I can bring that culture and that change into this Maricopa County Superintendent's office. So my website is bogsforschools.com, and you can contact me, volunteers. Yes, our fans. Like Jerry said, you can donate. All of us need help with that. Donations
go a long way in the candidates run for office. So if you can donate to both of these candidates, they're great candidates. And like she said, we'll have it posted on our website. Thank you both for coming on our show. One thing, when you do win the primary, will you come back?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
No, I don't think so.
As long as you have chips and salsa.
We'll have chips and salsa.
Man, am I a sucker for that.
Yeah.
You want to say something too?
We only have a few more minutes, but we know why you're running. We know what you would want to do in office. But I think a really interesting way of looking at it is when it's all said and done, after you finish your terms and your old age, what do you want to be remembered for? What is something you as a person personally, how do you want to be remembered? Whether it's on your obituary, by others, the community, the state, your families, what do you want to be remembered for?
So, thanks a lot for coming on our show.
Well, what?
Answer the question.
Go ahead.
I got to answer that.
Yeah.
That's tough. I want to be known as a kind, compassionate father, husband, grandfather first, right? But as a public official, I want to be respected because I honored everybody, and I taught my deputies, detention officers, to treat everybody like they would treat their grandmother. So treat everybody fairly and do the right thing all the time. Honesty, integrity, these are things that aren't just words to me. I've lived them. And unfortunately, a lot of people don't realize that most vast majority of us in law enforcement feel the same way.
For me, I think it would be just I've always wanted the change in education.
But you're not going to grow old.
Listen, I have 7 grandkids right now.
Really?
Yes.
Oh my God.
So that's part of this too. I want my family and my grandkids to know that I did everything I could possibly everything, right down to being attacked verbally, like all the time, to bring this change, to make the change possible for them to be able to learn, and for kids all over the state of Arizona.
It sounds like you've done a great job.
Thank you.
So
Thank you.
I know you would be a great superintendent, and you'd be a great sheriff.
Thank you, George. I'm going to hold you to that.
Thank you.
Yeah,
we'll come back for some chips and salsa.
Good. I'll invite you guys back.
Okay.
Watch your kids around water. Watch them around the pools. There's too many accidents happening around pools now. Be a responsible parent. Be a responsible guardian. If it's your property, watch whoever's in the pool. Don't leave your pets or children unattended in the vehicles. It's too hot. And be responsible. Have a blessed weekend. Next week we have Kerry Lake on our show, so don't miss that. And we'll have Jerry Sheridan back on our show in the future, and we'll have Shelley Boggs again because they're going to win their primaries.
Yeah.
Yay. Thank you very much for being on the show.
Thanks, George.
And thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Hey.
Thank you.
A viewer from Denmark?
Oh, nice.
Yes.
All right.
So thank you again, and have a blessed week.